Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead of them and their companies. I'm your host, Olivia Salmons, and in each episode we'll uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today we're joined by Niki Kerr, founder of Great Futures, a consultancy dedicated to helping individuals and organisations unlock potential through leadership, coaching, and strategic growth. Niki works with professionals and businesses to create pathways that lead to sustainable success. Niki, welcome to Founders Future.
Hi, Olivia, and thank you for asking me here.
No, it's a pleasure to have you here. So with all of my guests, I like to start at the beginning of their journey. So can you maybe take me back to what it was that you was doing before you started Great Futures? And then from there, what motivated you to start up a company?
I actually started off supporting drug and alcohol workers and young people in the young people's field. And I was working for an agency who, full of enthusiasts, who lots of the people who I worked with had actually had drug and alcohol related issues themselves. Very quickly, it became my role to train them how to work effectively and safely with young people and use their background experiences. And
Okay.
to be honest, when you work for somebody who's involved in like the criminal justice sector or that sort of side where we were, you get trained really well because it matters very much that you help people to change their behavior. And soon I became quite an expert at changing people's behavior and actually training other people how to work more effectively with anybody that came up to. When I left this area, I actually got headhunted for the prisons. And I ended up, I didn't realize I wasn't obviously taking enough notice in my interview, but I didn't realize I was actually hired to train all the drug and alcohol workers I thought it was London South East. It wasn't, it was the south of England. So I had a
Wow.
lot of experience. Yeah, I know. But I'm one of these people, oh my God, you just get on and do it, don't you?
Yeah.
And I've been trainer for years by now. So I was going through all the different prisons. And at first, obviously, I was nervous because I hadn't been in this sort of environment. But I very quickly got to realize that the real people behind the stories had really deep, lasting problems that had taken them there. And had they chosen a different fork in life, they could have been the next Richard Branson, but they hadn't. They'd chosen a different way. And my role was to take the guys who are working with these people, take them through their qualifications. And I learned so much by training them, ironically. And what really changed the pivot, I think, for me was I used to go in when my students were working with their clients for the first time to do their inductions. And they'd been using something called motivational interview skills. And they could change. Sometimes these were pretty hardened individuals who'd had career criminal lives, and they could change their mindset in moments.
Wow.
Uh, yeah, it was astounding. So I went on and I learned how to do this myself. I went on to do all my qualifications in coaching. And throughout my qualifications, one of the modules there was psychometric profiling. And you'll find anybody who's actually a coach, so a lot of people call themselves coaches, but anybody who's actually a qualified coach gets to do this module. And we have to do it so as we can instantly build a rapport with somebody. Because obviously, in a coaching one-to-one situation, you've got to have this instinctive way of finding out what makes somebody else tick very quickly. And I just suddenly realized, God, if this was if this was something that was mandatory in schools, we'd all have such a better understanding of what makes people tick. And actually we'd stop thinking, oh my God, they're awkward, they're being this, they're being that. They're not, they're just being themselves and they communicate in a different way. And this led me to the career I have now, which obviously I moved away from working with vulnerable individuals because I realized that everybody in life needs this sort of support, and particularly the high potential leaders and people starting their own businesses who might not feel able to put their hand out and say, "Can you help me?" So
Yeah,
that's what
100.
brought me here.
What a great background and very varied in the experience and what you can draw through and come through. And how interesting, I didn't know that about obviously working within prisons and with drug addicts, alcoholics, this mindset shift that they can have so quickly. Is
Yeah.
that generally something that happens maybe because of the hardship they've been through or the trauma they've had to suffer in past lives that's allowed them to adapt and develop moving forward? Or is that kind of just an overview for me that's completely way off the mark.
It's the background they've come through, or the trauma that they've suffered takes them towards the self-medication with drugs and alcohol. Or,
Yeah,
obviously there's people who get involved with wrong crowds and that sort of thing. But that's another story. But the motivational interviewing skills that these workers were using were to help them to see that they only had to make a tiny little movement in their own actions and thoughts, and the ripple effect could actually be very positive for everybody else, that they might even start to think cared about them. Because a lot of
mm,
these people think that nobody cares about them.
yeah.
And it was that sort of mindset, my God, this could be a possibility. And it could be possible that I do matter in life sometimes. So it's a big story.
So let's dive into exactly what the business looks like today. So maybe the listeners can have some more context as well moving forward. So who would you say that is your ICP? Who do you love to work with? And then from there, how is it that you help them and the services that you provide to them?
When you work with people who are very technically driven, very task focused, often that brilliance that comes with being the expert in their field is because they don't get emotionally involved, heavily emotionally involved, and they don't get involved in the drama and things. They see things very logically. And when you get to understand psychometric profiling, you realize that most people are or have a leaning towards being either task driven or people driven. And I like to work with these experts who outwardly they can be enormously successful, but inside sometimes they're not feeling fulfilled.
Yeah.
And when I help them to work with other people and get more involved with the more personal side of life, it can really open doors. And what I'm finding right now is the need for technical experts at a C-suite level, the executive directors, is so great that people are being promoted before they've had chance to go through extended courses. So this is
Yeah.
where a one-to-one coaching situation can give them on-the-spot coaching around things they might feel a little bit too embarrassed about asking HR.
Yeah. So people that have basically been put in a leadership position role where they may be
Mm.
very good at their craft, very good at their skill, and they need to hone in on, as you say, being a leader and managing other people, communicating
Yeah,
well, effectively running a team. I love that.
that's right.
So the businesses that you help, the leaders you help within the business, is this mainly kind of top end, as you say, C-suite executive corporate corporations? Or do you help?
Those are my favorites. I say that unreservedly. I do love it. I also work with founders, so people in small businesses, because very often when you're in a business role where you've just maybe opened a business recently, you don't have the funds to have anybody else on your team and you're actually on your own. And often you need somebody just to bounce things off so you can make those proper decisions and have somebody else's point of view or perspective, or somebody to even challenge you where that's coming from. And that's another favorite of mine, helping founders. And I think my own life experience when it comes to business, that gives me the background because I did a lot of failing in business, and that gives me the background to help people who are currently in that early stage right now.
That's great. So again, a lot of experience. Failing, I think, is great as long as you can learn from it. Ever
Oh
see it
yes.
as a bad thing.
Yeah.
And founders are in that similar position, as you say, they're very good at their job, they're very good, they know what they're doing, which is why they have that business. But they're on their own, they've got other things that maybe they don't know about and don't want to ask for help with or didn't realize would come up when they take on that entrepreneurship journey. So, do you work with them in a one-to-one level? Do you go into organizations as well? How does that side of it work?
I tend to work on a one-to-one level. I have a long history of going into organizations. In fact, I delivered disc psychometric profiling days for teams, and I
Oh,
go in. I still think that's one of the better things to do in person. But actually, I'm quite happy with doing the one-to-one virtually with people, and I think everybody is these days, aren't they?
yeah, it's become a lot more norm and a lot more comfortable. But I
Yeah.
feel like as well, it's a lot more time effective because that's one thing with founders, leaders, time wise, you don't want to be spending maybe an hour commuting to an office when you can just sit on Zoom in the comfort of your own home. It's a very different experience, but it opens up
Yeah.
different doors to in person and online as well. So, in terms of acquiring customers, how are you doing that at the moment? What are you finding most effective?
I've gone through various things that I'm trying, and this is an evolution because tech moves almost faster than you can implement it.
Yeah.
For instance, this time last year, I was just launching a webinar that I'd made, and I had it. I went through a whole professional course myself to make the webinar story, etc. And I've got one of these adverts that goes, hey, one of these that you really can't wait to switch off. I've got that on YouTube. And it actually got 114,000 hits, which is,
Wow.
yeah, I know, in 3 months.
Turning off.
And yeah, the button was stuck, obviously. But what I realized from that was because obviously that feeds people into a funnel. If they like the ad and it speaks to them, they can engage in the webinar. And then there's loads of value in the webinar itself. And a lot of people will they'll just stay there. But anybody who wants to go further and have one-to-one, they get that opportunity. And it's called a funnel.
Yeah.
They drop through and they get the application opportunity and we see if it's right for us. But what I realized there, and this is something I have to home in on with my new founders that I do train, if you try to target more than one audience at a time, it can be very costly. It's okay if you've got like thousands and thousands to spend on advertising, but most of us haven't. Google ads like putting the key in your bank account, just saying, here, just take it. You probably know that yourself from these. But yeah, I realized that I needed to home the audience back down to just one strain. And so I've done that now and it's going to go out again. But mainly, I find that my executive coaches come from personal recommendation or I do a lot of walking. I just walk with groups. I like to walk over the Surrey Hills. Often it'll just come up in conversation. What do you do? Oh, I do this. Oh, you do that. And then it could be months and somebody just suddenly phones me and says, Nikki, I need your help. And I
Yeah.
think that's when it's wonderful, when somebody's already got to know you, they trust you, and I know them, so I know I can help them. And it is just a synergy.
It is very good, but referrals are amazing. Word of mouth is very good too. They, again, it's as you said, just not always reliable. So when it comes to
Yeah,
growing, you have to have some form of online funnel or traction coming in just to support under there. Ads can be expensive, and you're exactly true. Like with honing in on the message, it's just you need to find one person to reach out
you
to
do.
and really stick to them because you can waste a lot of money online. And if it's not going to work while you're testing £40 a day, it's not going to work when you're testing 1,000. So it can be very cost effective. Did you have help setting that up, or was something that you had
Yeah, I
to look
did. Yeah.
at?
I went on one of these guru webinar courses.
How cool. And how did you find it?
I loved this guy. I absolutely did. Yeah, yeah. He wasn't the type of person, oh, his company, it wasn't
Mm.
the type that just said, oh, you're going to make 1 million overnight. It was very realistic. But the people who took you on this course, backgrounds, leadership and development, and I could tell I was being trained properly. It wasn't just talk. I was being trained properly. And I was being assessed and they wouldn't let me launch until it was right.
That's very good and great that you had again trust on both sides because
Yeah.
I always get that from people. And then in terms of the sales process as well, you have a funnel that runs into a landing page. Do you run any form of discovery call? Do you run as have a sales
Yeah.
team? What does that
Yeah.
process look like for you? Both.
If somebody wants to work with me, or they think they do, we have initially there's a discovery call, and it's usually a couple of discovery calls before we both decide whether or not we're right for each other. And I always give people the opportunity to go away and think about it, because
Okay.
there's nothing worse than being talked or feeling that you've been sucked into something and then you have that buyer's remorse afterwards. Yeah, plenty of time to settle down. Is this, and actually, I won't take people who I think aren't ready. I will often refer them to somebody else.
Nice. Yeah, the rapport is very important from the start and that they're willing to have the coaching and put the work in on the back of it as
Yeah.
well. You can't do that otherwise. Very cool. So then what does the future have in store for you? What do the next 12 months look like? Have you got any nice
Um,
projects?
I think the next 12 months, I think, is going to be a lot more corporate work. And when I say corporate work, I mean actually supporting the execs that are being promoted into those more leadership roles rather than the technical roles.
Yeah.
As I said, there is such call out there, and people are struggling with so many difficulties. So I think even since COVID, the world of work has changed so much that it's incredibly important that we get to know what's going on for all our team and
Mm.
how best to help them. And this is somewhere where I just think I can really add value, and I love it
I
too.
I agree. It's very good. So mainly hitting the corporate world, how are we getting on with the founders and that other side of things? Any plans to scale there? Any like targets that you're looking to achieve at all?
Yeah, I actually take 5 execs on a month, and I
Okay.
normally hold them for about 3 months. So I'm never with more than 15 people at a time. Because
Yeah.
to be honest, there's an awful lot that goes on behind the scenes with coaching. and you
Yeah.
never stop thinking and finding other ideas and stuff, that it's not just that one-to-one. And then with the founders, I've joined an online group recently, and this has been such a revelation. Their philosophy is friendship fuels business.
Okay.
And I've actually become one of their leaders, so I run my own group within that. And the amount of people who are at different stages, but they all add value in some way to these different, there's over 90 groups a
Okay.
month across 6 different countries. So it's
Wow.
absolutely phenomenal. The value I'm getting from that is when I pass my founders on to somebody else, I've already experienced these other people. So I know that they are my trusted associates that I'm passing people on to. Yeah, onwards and
Okay.
upwards. And of course, I'm writing the book.
Writing a book. So what is the biggest challenge in doing that so far? Like, how is that
The
going?
biggest the biggest challenge with writing books these days, everybody's telling you how to write a book. And if you've ever read Daniel Priestley's stuff about being the key person of influence, we all know that a book is not about making money. It's about, not from the book anyway, it's about getting your expertise out there. But for me, I actually love words and I love writing. So I'm very reluctant to follow that. Let's get AI to do this for you. I actually want to put some quality out there. And it's deciding where to start. I've got lots of notes, but yeah, lots of experiences in life that people could relate to.
Love that. I was actually speaking to a founder yesterday with regards to a book. He helped people write books, funny enough. And he was saying that he most people's perspective is they write a book because they want people to read it. He said the most successful books are the books you've written that you want no one to read. He said that's the challenge moving forward. So I've just
Interesting.
told you how to write a book, even though you keep telling me that people keep telling you to write a book. But that was his advice off the back of that. Nikki, before
Oh,
we
I'd
move
love
on,
to dig deeper into that.
yeah, it makes a lot of sense, like psychologically, because if you always got the impression that somebody is looking at work, gonna read it, you won't write from a true perspective. You'll write from what angle you think will work best. Whereas generally, it's what you project from the inside is going to attract. So if you put your deepest thoughts down from the inside, you'll attract them same kind of people. It all works the
Wow,
same.
thank you, Olivia. That's cool. Yeah, that resonates.
It all works same with the marketing. So what we're talking about the short and
Yeah,
funnel
yeah,
stuff, the
yeah.
resonation. And if you do it thinking people are going to read it, most of the time you'll miss the mark. So yeah. Look within, take some time. I love it. So Nikki, before we sign out, I do want to be respectful of your time today. I've got a couple of final questions to ask you. If you could go back in time to a younger self, to a younger Nikki, and you could only leave yourself with one piece of advice moving forward, what would you say to yourself?
Ask for help. Ask for help. Yeah.
Okay. Love it. Very simple, very clean. And to our listeners who are maybe just at the start of their own entrepreneurial journey, what advice would you leave them with to help keep moving forward?
Again, I'd say ask for help. And the reason I say this is because it took me many years before I asked for help and many mistakes because most people don't know how to run a business. Do what you know best and ask for help, but make sure you don't get sucked into something that isn't going to help you.
Awesome. I love that. Nikki, thank you so much for joining me today. Where can people reach out to work with you or connect with you if they'd like to do?
Best place to find me at the moment is on LinkedIn. And just to look for me at Niki Kerr, Nikikerr. Apart from that, I'm at my website is just it's just been rebranded at the moment. But again, that is very shortly going to be under the same domain name. So Nikikerr.com.
Perfect. NikiKerr.com. Love it.
Yeah.
And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, please do not forget to subscribe to Founders Future by
Mm.
wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And if you are a business owner, specifically a coach, consultant, or agency owner, and you're really looking to scale your business and you want to enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to hop on a call with one of our team and discover how we went from zero to $30 million per year in less than 3 years. But until then, keep climbing, and we will see you on the next one.